I'm Jim Check. You're watching Kelowna Now. Again, I have with me Mohini Singh. And we're here to talk about last night, sad night. The last anchored news hour was anchored out of Kelowna last night.
Yes, it was. It was a very sad evening.
Global won't be done here in the Okanagan, but the last anchored news show was last night.
Yesterday, yes.
So you watched it, I take it?
Oh, yeah, I was there. I was in the studio with...
Oh, you're in the studio. Well, there you go.
I was in the newsroom, and then we went into the studio and took some pictures, and we had some hugs. And,
Thanks for the invite, by the way.
It was in the mail. You didn't get it?
I wasn't there. No, I didn't get the invite. But I did have Bhupinder in here, Hundal, the news director for Global BC, on Friday, I think it was.
And I did meet with him for coffee that afternoon after your interview.
I think he explained it fairly well, what they're trying to do. I mean, they're trying to use, everybody has finite resources, especially in the media environment. It's a tough environment, right? So what they're saying is that they need to use their resources the best way they can. So they're going to keep reporters on the ground here. And then they're going to utilize their anchors in Vancouver to run a full half-hour dedicated news half-hour that'll run 3 times.
You mean to host it? They're going to have a...
They'll host it in Vancouver, but the news will still originate out of Kelowna with...
Yes. But, when I met Mr. Hundal, it was a very pleasurable coffee meeting. He is an amazingly nice person. I wasn't expecting to meet someone so nice. And I just said to him, I said, you are here to speak to the company's position and basically espouse the virtues of the changes. I'm here to speak for this community and what this community needs. So we're sitting across the table from each other, 2 different perspectives. And what I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around is they are going to have all this, the news, a few news teams here running around covering news, and then be packaged in Vancouver by somebody who does not have a finger on the pulse of this community, A, and B, may not know exactly the implications of the story they're about to introduce. There's no feeling for it. And then there's the other thing. The stories are going to be assigned to the teams here from Vancouver, where somebody does not know what this region's all about.
Who did the assignment before? Like, who's doing the assignment?
Locally.
Yeah, but who was doing it?
We had Chris Soban, who was the general manager, would be overseeing the assignment, and there'd be someone on the assignment desk.
So he's not going to be there anymore?
No, he's not there. Okay. And you know what? People who live here know about the needs of, say, Spalmsheen or Coston, and these are small communities in our region, and how important it is, and the implications of things that happen in one part of the region, the implication on another part of the region. We actually know all this, and and there's a bigger picture here. There's a higher level perspective, but I'm going off on a rant. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I understand there's also an emotional connection. Sometimes we're either too far away from something or too close to something, and you may be too close to this one. Right, because of the emotional connection, right?
Well, there's several factors here. I worked there for 22 years.
Right, so you will obviously be close to it.
Yeah, more than 1/3 of my life. A. And B, I've lived in this community for 30 years. Yep. And for me, this institution was a big part of our region. And so there's that emotional connection. And the other thing is, I've always been a proponent of free speech and a proponent of good, fact-checked journalism in our community.
And I think we're lucky that we have, and they're staying in the community, but we also have several other outlets which we need, including ourselves.
And absolutely, and you guys do a great job with what you have. And I look at Castanet too. There's KelownaNow, this Kelowna Capital News. I know the Daily Courier is still putting out a newspaper. So everyone is struggling and trying to do the best with what they have.
It's tough.
It's very tough business. But it doesn't help when a larger company doesn't put into the operation here and is just taking out, and then in the end says, oh, too bad, too sad. We're going to have to move.
But again, if the financial considerations aren't on part of Bhupinder's purview, right? I mean, he's not at a level where he makes any financial decisions.
No.
But Global itself, if you pull up the stock chart of Coors, it's pretty telling as to where they're at, right? They have a lot of debt.
Where are they right now?
I mean, the last time I looked was a week or so ago, and it was like 10 cents or something like that. And, not too long ago was $28, right?
Right.
So it's hard to get debt refinanced in that when your stock chart looks that bad, right? I mean, that's just a financial reality that is. And that it's not just exclusive to them. You go look at Glacier, which owns Castnet. You can go look at Post Media. You can go look at all of them. What we've done in Canada to try and save media has not helped media at all, right? This bill C-18, this fight with Facebook, is actually hurting media more than it's helped. Way more.
What's bizarre in your situation is, they won't define you as a media outlet. And then that's one thing. So if you're not, you can do whatever the heck you want. But then, as a media outlet, you can't put your stories
using the same
on Facebook.
Using the same legislation. They use the same guidelines. One, the federal government says we are not.
And then
Meta uses the same legislation as their guide and says, yes, you are.
So what are you?
Well, I mean, you tell me what we are. What are we?
No, I think you are a media outlet because you are putting out bona fide media stories.
We have the most experienced newsroom in Kelowna, I would say. Kent Mulgut ran the CTV desk. So it's not only an insult to KelownaNow, it'd be an insult to CTV, because if he was good enough for CTV, then he's not changed the way he does stuff. Steve McDonald was with the Daily Courier for 30 years. He was a business editor. So it's an insult to him. Ian Burns worked for the Daily Mail, one of the biggest news outlets in the world. And like Josh has been the news director here for like 8+ years or not. And then there's Megan, and then Cheyenne, and they're all
so
trained
either you
journalists.
are or you're not. It's as simple as that.
All
right?
did schooling. These aren't like, we didn't hire somebody off the street that said I did blogs before. These are all trained journalists by BCIT. So it's an insult to BCIT as well. So
circling back to Global, which is why I'm here, I just think it's so sad to see the demise of such a robust, thriving, a once robust and thriving institution.
Well, you got to remember the Daily Courier once had 100+ employees.
Yeah.
How many are left there?
I don't know.
1 or 2?
I'm scared to say, because last time I said
you said something, got in trouble.
And
well, at least somebody's watching.
I know. They do have an office here, for which I apologize. Yeah.
But that conversation I had with Bhupinder was good and honest, and it was something unusual as well. He actually came into KelownaNow to kind of like tell his side of it. So that's unusual for outlets to come in on each other.
So obviously these conversations are having an effect.
Well, for sure they are. Absolutely. I mean, he said he's been watching and listening in, and obviously, well, there's more than one person that watches KelownaNow.
Okay, now, the point I want to make, a couple of points I want to make here, Jim, is that the legislation that that defines local programming is archaic. And that's my point of view.
Yeah,
only my humble point of view.
I would agree with that.
And needs to be upgraded. So currently, what Global Vancouver is doing is not wrong. It's within the parameters of the license. It is meeting the requirements of the license. But is it meeting the spirit of that license? The spirit of the license is to serve this community. How is it doing that? That needs to be upgraded and modernized.
The only thing I would say is, like, we did hear from the news director, and that was good to hear from him directly what was going on. We do understand, and I do feel the pain that they feel, and all media is feeling that pain right now. It is a tough environment, and the current government is not making that environment any better for us. The federal government, I mean, they need to get out of the way of media and let us figure it out ourselves. Because this is not this what they've done with Bill C-18 has not helped anybody. It is one of the things he shared was most of their revenue still comes from television. but their traffic's not mostly coming from there, right? Because we know that our content is going in different places. They lost 30% of their traffic from their ban on Facebook. We lost 80% of our traffic from Facebook.
So how is it then that a community like Prince George can have a TV station, Kamloops can have Prince Rupert can have a TV station,
again,
and a thriving, dynamic community like ours
okay.
can't?
Kelowna is way more competitive than Prince George would be for media, as would Prince Rupert be. I mean, they would probably, in Prince Rupert, they'd probably be the only game in town. So they're still probably getting the bulk of the revenue. So you have a more sophisticated audience in Kelowna, a more competitive environment. Kelowna is supposedly one of the most competitive media environments in Canada. Like we have, at one point, we had a television station. We had 2 thriving newspapers, a bunch of smaller publications. We had the juggernaut Castanet, and then, you know, ourselves and a few other ones out there that are online media platforms, plus a multitude of magazines that used to come out of Kelowna. And 11 radio stations? Jason, 11 radio stations in this market? 10, 11? And you know what I mean? Like, and they're still there, but they're all like taking less of the pie because there's 2 or 3 big animals that moved in, and that would be Facebook and Google, and then even smaller players are taking some of that market. TikTok and Snapchat and X, and everybody takes more of the
there's
pie.
there's no doubt there had to be a shift in how things were done, and possibly. But I think yanking everything out like this from this market, giving the reporters themselves are feeling so demoralized.
What if their option is bankruptcy or do this?
I don't know if bankruptcy.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you have to make decisions at home too, right? Do you know what I mean? Like if some of the decisions at home are, you know, like we can continue to live in this house, drive this car, and we could lose it all, or we have to downsize our car and downsize our house so that our family can survive. Sometimes you have to make tough choices that you don't necessarily like. Right.
And this was a complete business.
And it wouldn't have been made by him, obviously.
No, of course not.
But the bean counters, and sometimes they're ruthless. Being a bean counter myself, sometimes they did as, especially when they're disconnected. They're in Toronto and they're just like cut. I mean, Jason knows that. He worked in the radio industry when they're just like cut 30% of your staff.
So now the question is, what now? We continue in this space where the 3 or 4 teams will go out, do stories, feed it to Vancouver.
Do you want my answer?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you really want my answer?
I don't know. But
the local community has to start supporting local media. If you really want it to survive.
100%.
You know what I mean? So the city of Kelowna has to stop spending on Facebook and YouTube and then start spending back on local media.
I think we do.
You do spend on Facebook and YouTube and that though too, right?
And on local media.
Right. Not with us. I love that flower you have there. What is that?
It's the Order of British Columbia.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Is that a dogwood?
Yes.
Nice.
It's.
And how did you get an Order of British Columbia? Because I don't have one yet.
You don't?
No.
I
might get an Order of Midway.
I got the Order of BC in 2008, and that was for my service to the community. And so as you can see, right now sitting here, talking about wanting to keep global local, my passion is not new. I've been, advocating for our community, our region for 30 years.
You're a great voice for the community. That is not in dispute for sure. I mean, you were a public figure and now representing 2nd term in office for... 4th term? Wow. Where have I been? 4th term representing the city of Kelowna. Well, I mean, that's a big commitment in itself, right?
Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, yes. Because right now we are, such a thriving community. We are expanding so rapidly. There's so much to do. And change is difficult for a lot of people.
So how do you convince the city of Kelowna, regional district, and all those places, if they want local media, how do they start supporting local media as they used to?
Well, we're having this conversation now, and this is a conversation our community needs to have on a larger scale. Because what happened with global, people are going to wake up to it and realize, oh my God, our TV station is not what it was. Right. Who is this? What is this? Right. Why isn't my little town being covered? Why isn't my story being told?
If we take radio, for instance, how many stations, Jason, were sold recently?
21.
21 stations for?
3 million plus some debt, so maybe double that. But.
So 21 stations for $3 million and some debt. That is I think 10 years ago, you couldn't buy a bare bones license to start a radio station for $1 million.
That includes 3 in Kelowna.
That includes the 3 stations in Kelowna were sold. And who are they sold to? Vista.
So what does the future hold? That's a question now.
Well,
we're looking at.
I think the biggest thing that should happen is the government should get out of the way of media. That's number one. Yeah. Get out of the way and let media sort itself out. And maybe there'll be some partnerships to develop. And I offered something to Global too, where we could help. I think media needs to start working with each other.
Why don't you buy the license?
You realize that financially, there's some financial issues at stake here. Until media or the community starts supporting local media, and maybe we need to do a better job for the community because maybe we're not valued enough. Maybe we're not doing a good enough job.
You know what? Well, there's this rise of so many other
platforms.
Yes,
for sure.
Which is why the old when I was on television, we were the go-to people.
Yeah, you were the only game in town.
We were the only game, or the most important game in town. I remember there was a fire in Penticton. It was the first urban interface fire. I do believe it was in 1999. And we were the station that kept the whole community
I think I was only
informed.
20 in 1999.
Well, don't show off. And in 2003, during the big fires, we were the people to go to. And that's what, CHBC was.
Yeah.
But, and that's what its role has been, which I feel is being so badly eroded now. Yeah. And I honestly believe this could have been handled so much better. The community was not informed. There's my other beef. I did not know the whole thing till I met.
They are a public company, to be fair to them.
Yeah, but these are public airwaves.
I know, but they are a public company and they have to act in the best interests of their shareholders. That is their obligation.
But I know, but what about their corporate social responsibility? Does not a company have that?
And I think that's how they're trying to cover it by coming in here a little bit, right? Do you know what I mean? I think
that
meeting with you,
bit by having
maybe not enough, right?
Yeah. But, they met with me because I'm the only one who's been speaking up. So I have been very vocal, and that was very nice to meet with me and explain the whole thing. But the community needed to know we have we have the potential of a huge university here, and we are growing. They needed to meet with people in different sectors and explain what they were doing and how and why and how it would benefit the community and how best can they serve this community and not say we are doing.
Do you know what the sad reality though is? And this is a study that I did the interview with CBC. The sad reality is since Bill C-18, 11 million less views per day of news. People are consuming less news. And that's because of this Bill C-18. They're consuming less news. So they're going to continue to go where they're going, and they're going to get a different type of news.
Not fact-checked.
Exactly. They're going to get that kind of half-stolen content from Global and stolen from us and then kind of like twisted to a narrative. So this Bill C-18 is not helping anybody. It may be helping, government needs to get out of the way. And I stress that for media to survive, we cannot have a government footprint either on our throat or in our back, right? That's the soapbox I will go on.
Well, I'm soapboxing myself away on the global issue. Finally, you know what? All I can say is now we've reached a point. It broke my heart to see Kimberly shut the lights off at the studio and walk out.
It's really tough when you see that. It's super sad. I think we have to go. Our next show is coming on. So
thank you.
These are good. I'm welcome you back anytime.
Thank you for this discussion.
Hey, thank you for coming in. And I love that. That's great.
I love it too.
There you go. And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.